my God! Oh my God! Oh no, that na good news na chi hit Biafra land now. Yes, good news. I want a video anam na chi now. If how no tako shidre man that na mazina the kana get to down na la Biafra very soon. Yes, very soon. I happen this man when this man umere hajo. Now, the whole world, American media, Nekuzoku Wasamaz Nadekano, Israel, the Kuku Wasamaz Nadekano, India, all the whole world, name it. Hane Kuzoku Wasamaz Nadekano. Happen to this man la onajo. Just now watch this video. If you are watching, make sure you watch it to the end. Meanwhile, data, but also guys, roll data now. Kiwike mata hena argument. Just watch this video and share.
The Nigerian judiciary is currently experiencing what can only be described as a massive, unprecedented earthquake, and right at the very epicenter of this terrifying storm is Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja. For months, whispers and quiet murmurs have been circulating within the hallowed corridors of the court, but those whispers have now exploded into a full-blown national crisis. The National Judicial Council, which is the absolute highest decision-making body for the Nigerian judiciary, has launched a sweeping, aggressive investigation into the conduct of top judicial officers, and Justice Omotosho is reportedly caught right in the middle of their powerful dragnet. This is no longer just a rumor or a piece of social media gossip. The embattled judge is in very deep and incredibly serious trouble. The entire capital city is buzzing with tension because the new Chief Justice of Nigeria has promised a ruthless cleanup of the judicial system, and it appears the very first major casualty of this strict reform might be the man who handled one of the most explosive and heavily scrutinized political trials in the history of the country. The massive trouble surrounding Justice Omotosho is directly tied to the historic and deeply controversial judgment he delivered late last year involving the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. You will recall that in a move that completely shocked the nation and sparked massive outrage across the southeast, the judge found the IPOB leader guilty of multiple terrorism charges and handed down a devastating life imprisonment sentence. However, the dust from that explosive court session never truly settled. Almost immediately after the gavel came down, top legal minds, powerful civil society organizations and human rights activists began bombarding the National Judicial Council with heavy, detailed petitions against the judge. The core of their argument, which the NJC is now reportedly investigating with intense scrutiny, is that Justice Omotosho allegedly committed a grave judicial error by using an abolished or completely scrapped law to convict and sentence Kanu. The petitioners are aggressively arguing that sending a man to prison for the rest of his natural life based on a legal statute that no longer holds water is not just a simple oversight. It is a gross miscarriage of justice that fundamentally embarrasses the entire Nigerian legal system on the global stage. The allegations that have landed the judge in this incredibly hot water do not just stop at the use of scrapped laws. The NJC is reportedly digging very deep into the entire highly unusual procedure that characterized the final days of that specific trial. Investigators are closely looking at the intense judicial haste that seemed to surround the sudden sentencing. Legal experts have continuously pointed out to the council that at the time Justice Omotosho rushed to deliver his final judgment, Kanu's legal team still had several critical unresolved appeals pending at the Court of Appeal, challenging the very legality of the charges and the controversial manner in which he was brought back to Nigeria. Furthermore, the NJC is said to be heavily questioning the dramatic events of the judgment day itself, where Kanu was forcibly escorted out of the courtroom by heavily armed security personnel following a heated exchange with the judge. Delivering a maximum life sentence to a defendant in his absence, especially under such tense and chaotic circumstances, has raised massive red flags concerning the fundamental right to a fair hearing, forcing the NJC to officially summon the judge to answer to these heavy queries. As we continue to closely monitor the intricate details of this massive judicial probe and how it might completely change the fate of the nation's most high-profile detainee, I want to take a very quick moment to ask for your solid support. If you appreciate the way we bring you these deep, unfiltered and highly factual breakdowns of the most complex political and legal stories in the country without holding anything back, please take just 1 second to smash that like button right now. It is the absolute best way to support our hard work and help push this vital information to more Nigerians who need to know exactly what is happening behind closed doors. And if you have not officially joined our growing community yet, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on your notification bell immediately. The political and legal landscape in the country is shifting at a breakneck speed this year, and we are committed to being right here on the front lines, breaking down every single development as it drops, so you definitely do not want to miss our next major update. Your continuous engagement keeps this channel going strong, and we truly value having you with us. Returning to the incredibly high stakes of this ongoing NJC investigation, the potential consequences for Justice Omotosho are absolutely severe and career-ending. If the disciplinary committee of the National Judicial Council reviews the evidence, analyzes the judgment, and formally concludes that the judge indeed engaged in judicial misconduct, overreach, or extreme bias by relying on abolished laws, the punishments are traditionally swift and unforgiving. He could be facing an immediate indefinite suspension from the bench, a forced and disgraceful early retirement, or even outright dismissal from the Nigerian judiciary. This is exactly why the tension within the Federal High Court is so palpable right now. Nobody wants to be associated with a sinking ship. The Judicial Council has made it abundantly clear that the era of judges delivering questionable, highly flawed judgments and getting away with it under the cover of absolute judicial immunity is completely over. The system is actively trying to restore public confidence in the courts, and holding a high-profile judge accountable would send a terrifyingly clear message to every other judicial officer across the Federation. Perhaps the most explosive aspect of this entire development is what it practically means for Nnamdi Kanu himself. The fate of the IPOB leader is now inextricably linked to the final outcome of this NJC probe. If Justice Omotosho is officially indicted and sanctioned for the exact judgment that put Kanu behind bars, it will immediately trigger a massive legal earthquake. Kanu's legal team, who are already fighting fiercely at the appellate courts, will be handed the ultimate undeniable ammunition to demand an immediate reversal of the life sentence. They will successfully argue that a judgment delivered by a heavily sanctioned judge using an abolished law is completely null, void, and of no legal effect whatsoever. This dynamic shift could potentially pave the way for Kanu's immediate release, or at the very least force the appellate courts to strike out the conviction and order a completely fresh trial under a different, closely monitored judge. The entire southeast region is currently watching this space with bated breath, knowing perfectly well that the downfall of the judge could very well be the master key to the freedom of their most prominent figure. The coming weeks are going to be absolutely critical as the NJC concludes its secret hearings, and the entire nation is waiting anxiously to see if the heavy gavel of justice will finally fall on the judge himself.